Every time Muslims step back from mainstream festivals, they're met with the same challenge. What is your alternative? How do you celebrate? The question assumes that a culture is merely a performance, something that is loud, highly visible, and built solely for entertainment. Attempting to answer that demand directly is a trap. It leads to Muslims producing low-quality copies of secular events just to prove they have their own content. This produces odd hybrids, like reciting Fatiha at nationalistic monuments or turning a Qawwali night into a pop concert. By playing along, we've subconsciously accepted a definition of culture designed by someone else. This is the aesthetic performative model. It reduces a people's identity to a list of songs, dances, and specific days on a calendar. In reality, a festival is the worst place to understand a culture. It is the most artificial and self-conscious layer of any society. Without a deeper narrative of shared values and collective memory, these displays are just entertainment. This narrow definition was a tool for colonial administrators. They needed a way to classify and manage the populations they ruled. A civilization with its own economy, laws, and centers of learning is a direct threat to an occupying power. The colonial strategy was to intentionally isolate a culture from its political and legal life, effectively neutralizing it. They permitted safe traditions, like folk dances or religious parades, because these could be funded and monitored without challenging the state. Reducing a heritage to a decorative spectacle is a method of control. This neutered concept survived the colonial era and became global policy. International agencies and NGOs formalized this definition, turning culture into something to be preserved in a glass case. Under this framework, sanctioned culture must be performative. It must require funding, and it must never challenge modern power. When society asks Muslims, "Where is your culture?" answering within these bounds means accepting the role of a harmless demographic. There is a more robust anthropological definition. Culture is the sum of how a society lives, raises its children, and reproduces its values. It is an uninterrupted reality you enact every day, not an event you attend. For a Muslim, the 5 daily prayers established a physical structure and time management of the entire day. Jumu'ah organizes the week, and Ramadan reconfigures the physical and mental state of the community for an entire month. This continuous rhythm of worship forms a foundation far more significant than an annual festival. This civilization includes a specific economic ecosystem designed to distribute wealth equitably. Practices like zakat and sadaqah aren't just charity. They are systemic habits that sustain a parallel economy. Then there is the waqf system, the endowments that historically funded hospitals, centers of learning, and social safety nets. The pursuit of knowledge is woven into the culture as a foundational act of worship. These interwoven systems create a society that functions independently of a secular state. The ethics extend to the smallest details of life, hospitality toward travelers, and the duty to care for orphans. Shared responsibilities around birth, marriage, and death bind the community together. These patterns of behavior form the culture itself. Muslims have no need to perform their culture because they are already living within a coherent, interconnected civilization.